Alright everyone, it's time for the Occult video 220, The Coming Age, over the rest of the century that we are now in. Of course, we're about to pass the first fifth of this entire century. Just yesterday, it felt like it was the year 2000 and people were, flipping out about the apocalypse. Or what was it, 2010 or 2011 when they were flipping out about the apocalypse. Or like any other time, the invasion of Iraq, 9/11, or today, people are still flipping out about the likelihood of the world ending. It's very funny that in times of relative peace or prosperity, people always delve into like religious doomsaying and stuff like that, start rambling about the end times. It's very interesting how that happens. People need adversity. People need it, otherwise they get bored. That's why utopianism will never be true. You'll never have your perfect society, your stateless communistic bullshit. It'll never happen. Not in a million years. You'll never have a proper ANCAP society with any stability. It's not going to happen. All of them will degrade and fall away in time. Every empire will fall. And that's basically the preface to what I think is going to happen over the subsequent century. Some of the old powers of the world are already waning. Now, some people perpetually say any day now they're going to collapse, like the United States. I believe that we're just beginning the American century. Yeah, I really believe that. Look, if you look around the world at the geopolitical situation, I know this gets off the occult in some ways, but prognostication is a big part of it, based on my own situational awareness. The United States is unique in that large land area, massive resources, and a head start in the military and diplomatic sense. There are other power poles that have that, like the European Union and China. However, they're running out of space. They're running out of people. The United States fundamentally is the only major economy in the world at this point that has, other than India, which is quickly exhausting this capability. That's why I think they become at least the main power of Asia. They'll eclipse the Chinese. What happens is that because of our far lower population density, because of the fact that we've had conservationism, we've actually had situations, we've tried to throttle the birth rate actually, and have immigrant groups instead where necessary. Because of that management of population, our density is considerably lower. Now this gives us a distinct advantage. We are the main economy of the world, with a fraction of the population and sometimes less land area than some of these other major economies. The land area of the US is comparable to Europe or to China. Their populations are far higher. Their populations are also, China's population is growing, although they're about to hit a wall with their one baby policy, causing major demographic issues there. They're going to crash and burn at that point. They're trying to beg people to have more kids now. I don't know how wise that is, though, now that they're also becoming environmentalistic. But there's problems for them. Their growth is slowing down. In parts of Europe, it's stalled out and even reversing. Like Germany's population is fundamentally decreasing. Italy's population is pretty much collapsing. I think Portugal and some of these other countries. We are therefore the only economy in the world that has the two major economic capabilities. You have quantitative growth and qualitative growth. Qualitative growth is technological. Innovation, something has increased output in some way, like the invention of the cotton gin, the invention of the electric furnace, the invention of the automobile. Something like that is qualitative. Quantitative growth is that there are resources that can be extracted, be utilized, be processed or something, creating jobs and so forth. There are additional people within the economy. Now, most of those people will be doing brute manual labor or clerical work, in a post-industrial economy. At this point, we're also adding robots, essentially, for output. I think that's a dangerous game, but it's one we have, unfortunately, no choice but to play. And that's the one really negative thing over the next century is going to be automation. Not entirely negative, but it is going to cause major economic problems in some economies. It'll be even more of a problem. Imagine that you robotize a lot of your workforce. Like certain kinds of work, almost no human knows how to do it, and then the Carrington event replicates itself, knocks out all the robots and all the electrical systems or something, causing trillions in damage worldwide, and all of a sudden you need some of the not quite fully industrial economies where you've got a bunch of brute labor force able to do things. They all of a sudden, their economies skyrocket and yours at least situationally falter. I'd say over the next century you can expect more interreligious fighting. It's almost inevitable if that's going to happen. Islam is gaining more prominence in Europe especially. Christianity is actually expanding in Africa and is solidified, of course, in Latin America. It's reaching into Asia, into some of these places, like even China. There are more and more Christians and Muslims there. They've begun suppressing Islam, which isn't a good thing, because what it'll end up doing is causing it to grow more. What you suppress but don't kill grows. It's the same for thoughts as for demographic groups, religious movements, socio-political fronts. I think that you're going to see major struggles over the next century. The breakdown of globalism, or it's, you know, coming into full prominence in parts of the world. You're seeing a form of imperialism with regards to Europe. The European Union is essentially just the family-friendly, smiley-face tattooed version of imperialism, as it were. That's all it is. It's an attempt to put all of Europe under one flag, punish those who leave or who rock the boat, and create a post-national system that will become like a nation-state in form and format. And that's basically what it's about. It's an attempt to replicate the United States, but it's not based on liberty. It's not based on a free market. It's not based on people will come here and find their opportunity and stuff. It's based on we're already stagnant, our economies are already sort of faltering and stuff, and there are a million internal problems between these various states under that one banner. I think that there are going to be all sorts of major problems over the next century. I wouldn't want to be located in Asia. I wouldn't want to be a European. Like, if I die tomorrow and get reincarnated and they give me a choice, I definitely want to be reincarnated in the Americas. Or possibly like maybe Australia or someplace like that. I wouldn't want to be reborn in Europe under any circumstances. The one exception would be maybe some parts of Eastern Europe, and some of the Scandinavian countries are kind of waking up. But I mean, why would you want to be in France? The culture is completely collapsing. It's burning to the ground at the moment. The UK has so many, you know, domestic political issues, it's not funny. These are major advanced economies, and they're also major military players. If they falter, some other power is going to have to shelter them. Otherwise, they go full USSR mode. That's going to be the United States. That's another thing. We may end up having to save Europe again, so to speak. Otherwise, it'll fall into darkness completely. Now, that would be a war that nobody wants to fight. Hopefully, it doesn't take the form of an actual war. It takes the form of various rebellion and unrest that then we can hopefully go in and take care of. But there's a little bit about the coming age. Some of you will live to see it all. Some of you that are very young right now, you'd be like 100 or something, but you'll actually live to see the end of the 21st century. And it'll be quite interesting when you do. You'll get to see 2100 and all the weird shit that'll be there. If it's anything like the advances of the last century, people will inevitably make all sorts of mistakes. Like, instead of, like, in some areas they'll say things will remain the same and they won't. They'll, like, advance and be like the Jetsons. And in other areas they'll say, well, things will be like this. It'll be robots everywhere, flying cars, and then it won't actually come true. Like, for instance, like the self-driving thing. I do not believe that you're ever going to see a situation in which that becomes mandatory or even widespread. You'll see semi-automation, like, you know, parking help and stuff like that, you know, cars that can park themselves, for some things like that, but I think the security issues and the inherent vulnerability of computer systems may, you know, lead people to look askance to such things. You're going to see more spying as well, more government tyranny in all parts of the world that'll have to be resisted against. If we can defend the internet, if we can promulgate free speech, if we can keep the corporations from monopolizing further, we will win. If not, we're going to fall into darkness for a time. People will literally have to make a second internet or an alternative to it. It's another thing. That's about all. Peace out.